Long before empires rose, the Illyrian tribes carved their lives into the rugged Balkans. In the river valleys, the Taulanti cultivated the land and tended their livestock, forming the first settled communities. Along the Adriatic coast, the Ardeai tribes fished the rich waters, mastering both land and sea. In the highlands, Dardani warriors patrolled the hills, guarding their territory and livestock. Children of the Ardeai learned the ways of the sea from a young age, paddling and casting nets along the cove. The fertile valleys nurtured their crops, allowing the Taulanti villages to flourish amidst the mountains. In the hills, Dardani hunters tracked game, their survival intertwined with the rhythms of nature. Through rugged mountain passes, Illyrians traversed the land, linking villages, trade, and tribes in the dawn of their civilization. In the early dawn, Taulanti farmers began tending their fields in the shadows of the Dinaric Alps. Along the Adriatic, Ardeai fishermen cast their nets, sustaining the tribe with the bounty of the sea. High in the Dardania hills, shepherds guided their flocks across the fertile pastures. In the village center, craftsmen shaped bronze tools, sustaining daily life for the tribe. Scouts surveyed the coastline from high cliffs, watching for approaching ships or potential threats. Hunters and trackers navigated the forest, relying on keen senses to provide for their families. The river valleys sustained agriculture, allowing the Taulanti to settle and grow. Even the youth learned the ways of the sea, paddling and casting nets under the midday sunday. Through mountain passes, scouts and herbalists moved between villages, sharing knowledge and resources. Blacksmiths shaped bronze tools that would sustain farming and daily life in the valleys. From high cliffs, lookouts kept watch over the coastline, protecting villages from raids. Villagers tended to livestock and daily chores, forming the backbone of early Dardania society. Along the rivers, villagers cast nets, ensuring a steady supply of fish for the community. Hunters followed trails in the forest, honing skills vital for survival in the highlands. Villagers returned from the sea, bringing the fruits of their labor back to the harbor. From hilltops, warriors and villagers surveyed the land that had sustained their ancestors for generations. Shepherds guided their flocks home as the sun set over the highlands. Scouts watched the horizon as the day ended, ever vigilant for incoming threats or opportunity. Villagers gathered in the square to share news, strengthen bonds, and prepare for nightfall. From mountain ridges, the Dardani looked over their lands, guardians of an ancient legacy in the Balkans. The Ardeai expanded their reach along the Adriatic, mastering the seas with agile warships. With expert seamanship, the Illyrians navigated these waters, preparing for trade and defense. Coastal villages thrived under the protection of skilled warriors and vigilant scouts. Taulanti warriors patrolled the valleys on horseback, securing their expanding territory. Dardani fighters used the mountains for guerrilla tactics, ambushing enemies from hidden positions. In shipyards, skilled hands constructed the agile vessels that gave the Illyrians control of the Adriatic. These swift ships enabled raids and commerce, connecting Illyrian tribes to distant lands. Mounted warriors trained daily honing skills that would secure tribal dominance. Dardani warriors expanded their control across the rugged highlands, mastering ambush tactics. Adriatic tribes cultivated fertile lands, sustaining their communities and preparing for expansion. Illyrians traded with Greek and Phoenician merchants, exchanging goods and culture across the sea. These fast ships allowed for both trade and sudden coastal raids, extending Illyrian influence. Cavalry drills ensured that warriors could respond swiftly to threats or opportunities on the battlefield. Scouts mapped the terrain, vital for planning raids and defending tribal lands. Coastal villages thrived on fishing their produce, traded with neighboring tribes and Greek merchants. Swift and sturdy Illyrian ships dominated coastal waters, supporting both trade and warfare. Villages became centers of trade, connecting various Illyrian tribes and neighboring peoples. Rugged hills offered strategic advantage, allowing Dardani to control and monitor the territory. Fertile lands allowed the Artariade to sustain their growing population and expand their influence. Trade with Greek and Phoenician merchants brought wealth and knowledge to the Illyrians. Cavalry units trained rigorously, preparing for territorial defense and expansion. From mountain ridges, scouts monitored trade routes and approaching allies or enemies. Ships patrolled the coast, demonstrating Illyrian naval prowess and extending influence over the Adriatic. Rivers became trade arteries, connecting inland villages with coastal hubs and foreign merchants. Forest clearings allowed warriors to train, scout, and prepare ambushes. Ships sailed from Artariatai harbors, connecting tribes and facilitating trade along the coast. As the sun set, scouts watched the horizon, protecting villages and monitoring trade routes. Even as the day ended, training continued, ensuring warriors remained ready for any challenge. Hilltops provided vantage points for monitoring enemy movements and coordinating tribal defenses. By sunset, fleets patrolled the Adriatic, a testament to Illyrian skill and expanding influence. On hilltop forts, tribal chiefs commanded warriors central to society and order. Artisans crafted intricate gold and silver jewelry, decorated weapons, and clay pottery, reflecting tribal artistry. Priests and warriors gathered in forest clearings for rituals honoring nature and war deities. Coastal shrines hosted ceremonies invoking sea and nature spirits with offerings and ritual dances. Stone menhirs marked sacred sites, where villagers paid homage to ancestral spirits. Riverside altars witnessed offerings to water spirits, blending faith with daily life. On clifftops, ritual fires and carved stones honored the spirits of sea and sky. In sacred groves, rituals combined offerings and martial demonstrations, reflecting tribal devotion. Chieftains presided over councils adorned in gold and bronze, symbolizing authority and tradition. Priests conducted rituals by the water, merging maritime life with spiritual reverence. Dolmens served as sacred spaces, honoring ancestors and guiding tribal rituals. Markets showcased crafted goods from gold jewelry to decorated weapons, blending art with utility. Cliffside altars hosted offerings to war and nature deities, central to communal belief. Riverside shrines blended natural and spiritual worlds, linking daily life with faith. Ceremonial mounds marked sacred ground, hosting rituals honoring gods and ancestors. In mountain shrines, warriors and priestesses performed rites honoring nature and war deities. Village squares displayed crafted jewelry, decorated weapons, and pottery, reflecting cultural pride. Cliff rituals invoked the favor of sea gods, blending spiritual practice with maritime life. Dolmen circles served as sacred spaces for ancestral worship and community rites. Riverside altars connected daily life to spiritual observance, reinforcing tribal beliefs. Sacred coves hosted offerings to war and nature, deities central to communal identity. Hilltop ceremonies celebrated martial valor and honored the spirits guiding warriors. Chieftains led councils and rituals, their presence central to village society and tradition. Cliffside ceremonies honored deities of war and nature, central to RDAI cultural life. Dolmen sites were focal points for ancestral reverence and tribal cohesion. Riverside shrines symbolize the link between daily life, spiritual observance, and community identity. Sacred coves hosted rituals that intertwined maritime life with spiritual practice. Hilltop ceremonies honored both ancestors and gods of war, reinforcing tribal culture. Chieftains embodied authority and tradition central to governance and religious rites. As the sun set, rituals concluded, sealing the bond between the Illyrians and their deities. In the mountains, Dardani warriors prepared to defend their lands against invading forces. Talanti chiefs rallied warriors atop hill forts, coordinating defense against Greek incursions. RDA pirates roamed the Adriatic, launching sudden raids against merchant vessels. Guerrilla tactics in forested valleys allowed Dardani to ambush superior forces effectively. Rivers became strategic points, with warriors readying boats for ambushes or rapid strikes. Scouts patrolled cliff edges, monitoring merchant ships and foreign fleets. From mountain ridges, Dardani coordinated attacks and defended passes against Macedonian forces. Pirates struck swiftly, boarding merchant ships and seizing goods along the coast. Warriors gathered to form alliances, uniting tribes against external threats. Guerrilla squads positioned themselves to intercept enemy patrols and protect their villages. Inlets became staging grounds for raids, allowing pirates to strike unexpectedly. River crossings were fortified, ensuring safe passage for allied tribes during conflicts. From hilltops, scouts coordinated signals and strategy for the tribal alliance. Pirates launched boarding attacks on merchant vessels, demonstrating naval skill and daring. Training grounds prepared warriors for mountain warfare and coordinated tribal defense. Mountain ridges allowed the Dardani to watch for enemy movements and protect their territories. Fleets patrolled the Adriatic, asserting Illyrian presence and challenging foreign powers. Forest ambushes allowed Dardani warriors to strike enemies unexpectedly and retreat swiftly. Riverside forts provided defensive strongholds against Macedonian and Greek incursions. Pirates returned to hidden coves, securing loot and avoiding retaliation. Hilltops offered vantage points to coordinate ambushes and signal allied tribes. Illyrian vessels struck swiftly, demonstrating naval skill and dominance on the Adriatic. Villages rallied under chiefs, uniting tribes to resist foreign invasion. From the ridges, warriors coordinated attacks and reinforced tribal alliances. Cliffside lookouts monitored shipping lanes, ensuring the success of raids. Forest ambushes disrupted invading forces, demonstrating guerrilla mastery. Strategic river crossings enabled coordinated defense and troop movements between allied tribes. Hidden coves provided safe harbor for pirates to store loot and plan further raids. High ridges allowed tribes to spot enemy movements early and coordinate counterattacks. Villagers and warriors gathered to unite, forming loose alliances against foreign powers. Illyrian ships struck merchant vessels with precision, leveraging speed and knowledge of the coast. Hilltops served as strategic command posts for coordinating tribal forces. Rivers were vital for transporting warriors and coordinating defensive maneuvers. By sunset, Illyrian fleets patrolled the Adriatic, asserting dominance and protecting tribal interests. Internal divisions weakened the Taulanti, leaving hilltop forts vulnerable to invasion. Factional disputes hampered Dardani coordination, leaving mountain passes exposed. Divisions within RDAE leadership weakened their defense against the Roman advance. Romans exploited fractured defenses, crossing rivers unopposed into tribal lands. Roman legions advanced methodically, overwhelming Dardani positions on high ground. Romans approached coastal villages, seizing strategic points and docks. Roman legions laid siege to hilltop forts, their discipline overwhelming tribal defenses. Roman troops pressed through mountain passes, defeating scattered defenders. Romans seized coastal harbors, capturing ships and supplies vital for trade. Villagers fled as Roman forces advanced, abandoning homes and fields. Illyrian forces were gradually overwhelmed by the organized Roman legions. Romans occupied coastal villages, enforcing authority and integrating territories. Roman forces crossed rivers with ease, exploiting disunity among tribes. By sunset, Roman forces had captured key hilltops, signaling the collapse of tribal resistance. Captured harbors were secured by Roman troops, ending Adriatic naval dominance. Communities were uprooted, with many displaced or forced to integrate into Roman rule. Defeated warriors retreated across the plateau, signaling the effective conquest of the region. Coastal cliffs fell under Roman control, ending centuries of independent tribal rule. Romans captured hilltop forts, completing the assimilation of Taulanti lands. Villagers fled their homes as Roman legions consolidated control, signaling the end of Illyrian independence. On the hills of Shkodra, archaeologists uncover the remains of ancient Illyrian fortresses. Excavations at Butrint reveal Illyrian settlements and traces of their artistry. Dardania's valleys yield remnants of fortresses, jewelry, and decorated weapons. Artifacts are displayed in museums, showcasing the craftsmanship of the Illyrians. Along the Adriatic coast, ruins tell stories of maritime prowess and tribal life. Jewelry and weapons reveal intricate Illyrian artistry and symbolic designs. Dolmens reveal the spiritual practices and funerary customs of the Illyrians. Hilltop fortresses show the strategic ingenuity and defensive architecture of the Illyrians. Coastal settlements demonstrate the maritime skill and trade networks of the Illyrians. Excavations uncover decorated pottery and tools, revealing daily life centuries ago. Stone foundations and carved artifacts illustrate the social and artistic life of the Illyrians. Museums preserve artifacts, keeping Illyrian craftsmanship and legacy alive for modern viewers. Dolmens and stone markers reveal the spiritual beliefs and rituals of Illyrian tribes. Gold and bronze artifacts demonstrate the artistry and wealth of Illyrian society. Though tribes vanished, their courage and maritime skill still echo along the Adriatic coast. Through ruins and artifacts, the legacy of the Illyrians continues to shape the history of the Balkans. From nomadic tribes to seafaring warriors, the Illyrians shaped the ancient Balkans. Their mastery of the sea enabled trade raids and cultural exchange across the Adriatic. Villages and forts flourished under the guidance of chiefs and warriors, connecting inland and coast. Seafaring tribes navigated waters, demonstrating both maritime skill and strategic prowess. Mountains and passes witnessed fierce resistance and the eventual encounter with Rome. Artifacts preserved today showcase the artistry, resilience, and culture of the Illyrians. Though their tribes vanished, their legacy endures along the Adriatic coast and beyond. Discover more lost civilizations of the ancient Balkans on Civilizations Uncovered.